Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I have with me in the studio journalist Dari Odufowokan and lecturer at the University of Lagos, Dr. Dan Ekere. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
Right. Let's head straight to the papers now, and we begin with the Daily Times. At last, federal government lifts suspension on Twitter operations, says it's reached an amicable resolution with Twitter on various terms, conditions. The details on the pages of the Daily Times. We move now to the Nigerian News Direct. Lifting of Twitter suspension excites Nigerians, accepts tax security terms of federal government. Nigerians must use social media platform more responsibly. Articon President speaking there. All right. We move now quickly to the Nigerian Tribune. After 7 months, federal government lifts Twitter suspension. And we have the long list of some of the agreements here. Twitter commits to establishing a legal entity in Nigeria during the first quarter of 2022, which will register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. You find the details on the pages of the Nigerian Tribune. To the Guardian newspaper now, federal government lifts Twitter ban after 222 days, 546.5 billion naira economic losses. Stakeholders divided, say federal government should not gag platform. ECOWAS court plans to deliver judgment next week. We never left Twitter. Nigerians react. Right. To the Leadership newspaper now, ISWAP attacks on rise. Governor Zulum cries out, says 2 local governments still under terrorist control. Gunmen kill 18 people in Plateau village. Bandits kidnap more traders in Kaduna. President Muhammadu Buhari reiterates commitment to end banditry. You find the details on the pages of the Leadership newspaper. To the Blueprint, Zulum on insecurity. Peace has returned to 11 local governments, 2 others still under ISWAP. Terrorists celebrating marriages, collecting taxes. Gunmen abduct several traders on Kaduna Highway. Bandits released without charges, Matawali alleges. To the Nation newspaper, bandits kill 51, burn houses in attacks on communities. Many feared kidnapped on Kaduna Abuja Highway. Defense Minister in Zamfara. President orders sustained military onslaught. Lawan, Nigerians want action, not excuses. To the Vanguard newspaper, Boko Haram still in control of 2 Borno local government areas, says Zulum. Says Guazamala, Abadam local government areas remain under Boko Haram control once ISWAP regrouping with 300 motorbikes. The Punch newspaper now, terrorists on the rampage in Plateau, Niger, kill 52, abduct hunters, others. Niger terrorists tied victims' hands to their backs before shooting them. Residents along the man's arrest as invaders gunned down 18 in fresh Plateau community attack. To This Day newspaper now, federal government says 6-man delegation to Zamfara says recent killings extremely unfortunate. Vows terrorists, they are numbered. Matawale calls for comprehensive review of fighting strategy. Lawan flees incessant bloodbath across country. And to the front page of the Daily Sun, 2023 presidency pressure mounts on Osinbajo to join race. CPC, ANPP blocks tighten grip on party. And to the Daily Independent, 2023 Southwest, APC may ostracize Osinbajo. I have nothing against Tinubu. Osinbajo is my choice. Akinola speaking. To this Nigerian newspaper, intrigues in ruling party. APC disquiet over convention date. Party denies shifting event to June. Postponement allegations thicken over crisis in states. To the Business Day now, investment edition, Nigeria stocks to watch in 2022. All right, to the national economy, 3 trillion naira trade deficit may spark further naira devaluation in 2022. Nigeria must reduce importation, improve non-oil export, NASEMA. And finally, The First News newspaper, Alawa Kala, last moment of affable Oyo ex-governor. All right, gentlemen, let's look at this story on some of the pages of the newspaper this morning. It came as perhaps a cheering news to some, and some others are indifferent. And that's with regards to the lifting of the Twitter ban. Yesterday, the government lifted the Twitter suspension, and there has been divergent reactions to that. And I wonder what yours is. Let me begin with you, with Dr. Ekere.
Thank you. Well, you should expect diverse, reactions. Opinions will differ, but the bottom line is that it is good the ban is lifted. The most important thing is that Nigerians have been on Twitter even with the ban. They've been doing all manner of business, but then it would have been better if there was no ban. So now that the ban is lifted, I want to believe that Twitter itself is going to be more organized with respect to issues of, taking down tweets and all the rest. The rules are going to be clearer to the people, and I'm sure that they will equally align with the country's own position too, so that it could be, business for both parties. Now, but Nigerians, as a matter of fact, a lot of businesses have had challenges,
right? Yeah.
Because of that ban.
Yes.
And the same thing goes for Twitter. There have been losses, and you'll be clear on that there can be, those losses cannot be regained.
If you look at the Guardian newspapers, it said about 546.5 billion naira economic losses so far. Certainly,
because there are a lot of businesses that are practically online only. And Twitter is one of those, channels through which they transact their businesses. So for you to have, created this kind of a challenge, obviously those businesses will be affected. And they were actually affected, but thank God the ban has been lifted. We hope that they would have struck a deal, the kind of deal that will make business to flow in such a manner that the kind of hindrance that was experienced will not be there. But again, one important thing about the lifting, I am not too clear on the terms, but I do hope that it will not be to the extent that Nigerians will not be able to express themselves freely, because that is one challenge. If the idea of, you took down the president's tweet is a reason for shutting down, it means that should anybody perhaps say something, that will be against the president or against the government or against anybody, you might decide to do the same. So there's a challenge there. I hope there will be enough liberty for people to be able to express themselves.
I want to believe so, because let me quickly read some of the agreements here, which is on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. It says Twitter commits to establishing a legal entity in Nigeria during the first quarter of 2022, which will register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Also agrees to appoint a designated country representative to interface with Nigerian authorities, agrees to comply with applicable tax obligation, to enroll Nigeria on its partner support and law enforcement portals, agrees to act with a respectful acknowledgement of Nigerian laws, national culture, and history, to work with the federal government of Nigeria and broader industry to develop code of conduct in line with global best practices. I believe that these are some of the agreements.
And that will equally bring in some resources to the government as well, because from there, obviously, Twitter is going to pay taxes, and I'm sure that it will be better monitored. We'll have a better deal from there, such that it will not just be, Twitter is transacting businesses as if they are faceless, kind of. So with this one, and I know that a lot of people, chance that they will have some people employed, because there's no way they're going to open an office and we'll have people run it. So
it's like giving a face to Twitter in Nigeria. So can we, Dare, say that perhaps the Nigerian government achieved its aim at the end of the day?
Yeah, for me, the Nigerian nation is the winner. I've always been an advocate of that. Where the debate was pretty thick, I felt that if this will give us some national pride, if it will bring about a change in how some of these international organizations relate with us, if it will earn us more respect, then why not? all of us were wary of the underlying reasons beyond the one we were told for the ban. But be that as it may, reading through the papers early this morning and seeing some of the agreements as reeled out by the federal government, I'm feeling really, really proud as a Nigerian,
right,
that we set out to make some records straight, and we came out with this kind of successes, as it were. And then
Can we say now that it is a success?
If truly Twitter agrees to all this, it's a success. We shouldn't shy away from the fact that these things weren't there before.
Okay.
This is an organization that operates within the Nigerian nation as if it's a lord on its own. And it's not the only one. Nigeria is not the only victim. After this face-off between Nigeria and Twitter, a number of other African countries followed suit. Middle East countries followed suit. Twitter in countries like UK and the United States of America are like other organizations in its field, are regulated. But that's not the case here. Nigeria was losing taxes, income, employment opportunities, and respect for our laws all along. But if this will correct this, it's a good thing. Now talking about the reaction to the lifting of the ban, I'm elated. I'm elated because a lot of youngsters who had their startups dependent on Twitter really suffered while the ban lasted. Many of them were on the verge of losing the entire business. But with this development, I'm sure they will revive even our own sector.
Yes,
the media was hugely affected.
Absolutely.
In the area of news sourcing, information dissemination, and what have you. A lot of our sources are more comfortable
on Twitter
telling you, check my Twitter page.
True.
And they feel that whatever they put there cannot be distorted. I have a friend, a source, who will tell you, this is a question you're asking me, okay, I will answer it on my Twitter handle. So you can't misquote him. You will have to compare what you have published to what is on his page, and it's there permanently. So it feels more secured. So there are hindrances like that, even for journalism. And if you now look at the social angle to it, Nigerians are very happy people, like some researchers said.
Yes.
And one of those avenues where they express their happiness is on Twitter. So for many housewives whose sole medium of reaching out to people in various ways while staying at home and doing house chores and taking care of the children was Twitter. It was a difficult time. And for those who cannot but download one thing or the other on Twitter, it was a difficult time. So by and large, I think it's a win-win situation for all the parties involved. The people, you have your Twitter back. Twitter, you have your business back. Nigeria, you have your terms met. So by and large, it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation at the end of the day.
For all the parties now, let us respect this agreement, including Nigerians. What we do on Twitter that could lead to a face-off between Twitter and the government, let's avoid it. Let our criticisms be civil. Let our criticism be in such a way that the nation benefits from it. Don't let's use Twitter as a tool to run down ourselves and run down our country. The kind of things people publish about Nigeria on Twitter at times, I feel, are these Nigerians or some borrowed citizens from somewhere? So let's all see an opportunity to do it better, and let's do it that way.
Hopefully. Right. Let me come back to you, Dr. Ekere. The timing of the lifting of this ban is also an issue of discourse for a majority of Nigerians. There are those who have divergent views with regards to it. There are those who believe that perhaps there are sinister motives on the part of government with regards to this, because we see that this is an election year and all of this. That is why, just expressing, some level of suspicion on the part of government's move.
Yeah, but it's not strange. Nigerians do that a lot. I'm sure it happens everywhere. But coming at a time like this, not to stop us from suspecting. Don't forget that Twitter is a very broad platform through which you can mobilize resources, through which you can mobilize the people, and politics is about mobilization. So to make such, suggestions or suspicions, it is not, unfounded. But the bottom line is that Twitter is a platform like every other platform. People, do open up businesses on Twitter just like they do on other platforms. But chances are that, yes, some people feel more comfortable with Twitter. So it's likely going to play that role. But
because we saw what played out in 2015.
Yes, but I do not really want to believe that is the reason for the lifting of the ban. But even if that is the reason, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Because it's not going to be limited to the federal government. It's not limited to APC. It will be open to everybody. So if at the end of the day, the parties are using Twitter to transact businesses, campaign, and it is allowed, then so be it. The most important thing is that there will be some level of monitoring, even from Twitter itself, because it will not want to fall, into this same trap twice. So that whatever is coming there will be something that is part of what has been agreed to be handled by Twitter. So you don't bring the kind of tweets that will bring down the image of a country. I do not want to believe that you would send the kind of tweet that will become challenges to reputations of persons, because obviously there are laws guiding that when you defame people, they have a right to take you to court and all of that. So I want to believe that everybody is still going to be very mindful of those rules. And interestingly, now that Twitter is going to operate, with respect to Nigerian laws, it means that the laws still apply. So whatever you are going to do, whether you do it on Twitter, whether you do it on Facebook, whatever, the bottom line is that you will do it with respect.
In accordance to the laws of the nation.
Exactly. And that's very important.
Very important. I wonder that when Nigerians would believe government's intention, like just accept it, like it is for your best interest. Why do we always have this suspicious thinking towards government intention?
It's not a Nigerian thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. It's a global practice. The people, the moment a government is sworn in, even if the man heading it used to be the chairman of a local community, the moment that government is sworn, it becomes we versus them. It's a global practice. It's a global practice. Look at some developments in America after Biden took over. You begin to wonder, this was the same man they supported with so much enthusiasm.
Right.
And it's a global thing. There is always the governed and the government. There is always suspicion in between. The level at which you, as a government, is now able to manage it,
and bridge the
gap gradually, determines your success in governance. So it's not something to...
Have we been able to do that over time?
You should also understand the fact that government is an off and on thing. People come, people go. It's not a permanent thing. It is not until in Nigeria we have a system called government that people just come in, feel, and go. We still don't have a system called government. We have people called government at different intervals. So that's why bridging the gap is debatable. This current government has been in office for 6 years, 7 going to 7. Have they been able to bridge the gap? I'll say no. Why they make success of bridging the gap in some areas, something else happened and gap is widened. And that is what happened to Obasanjo's 8 years, what happened to Jonathan's 6 years, and until the people see a system, this is government, with or without so person, with or without certain group of people, we have a government. You people are just passers by who fill in the gap, do your bit, move on again. That is what will totally, bridge the gap. But talking about suspicion, as it relates to the Twitter thing, Doctor just explained it. Twitter is not going to serve just the government alone. It's not going to serve just the ruling party. So it's very difficult for me to agree that that would be a motive, because bringing it in an election year is for the good of all. The opposition should now use Twitter constructively to play because the opposition has a very important role to play. Criticize government constructively, offer alternatives. I tell people who says this person is not good, as we look at 2023, this person is bad. I ask them, I have seen your point. Give me an alternative to this person that will have the reach, that will have the experience, and that will be a saint as you want. Because you see this other person as a devil. But do you know what is there? People don't offer alternatives. They just condemn. It's in the same vein I want the opposition to now go in, offer alternatives. That's when you are playing the role of opposition.
Right.
Offer, oh, this is not good. Mr. A is bad. Take a look at Mr. C and D and E and see if we can find one of them. That is constructive criticism. That's constructive argument.
Healthy opposition.
Healthy opposition. But when you are just stiff-necked in your objection and rejection of a particular thing, and you cannot think deep enough to say, in place of what I am condemning, this is
the alternative.
Then right. you at best you shouldn't be taken serious.
In fact, that would not be criticism. It will not be criticism. It will be attack.
Even when you attack, offer alternative.
Because when you are criticized, you should show what is better. And when you don't show what is better, it means that you are simply attacking.
Attacking, just mere objection.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave the conversation now. Thank you so much, journalist Odufowokan and lecturer at the University of Lagos, Dr. Ekere, for your time on the newspaper review. Thank you.
So it was a pleasure.
Thank you.